Hello, I think I'm audible. Right, okay, good morning. This is Prem here. So we are on 14th of July 2018, and this is All Things API, session 3. And this session we are going to talk about open banking and open banking APIs in the scope of UK. So, for people who are seeing this video first time, just want to give you what is this All Things API is all about. So, All Things API is a video forum for people who are interested, uh, people who are specialists, people who are experts, people who are newbies, who wants to learn about APIs, the way things, the industry is going, shaping up, some of the key interesting challenges we would be facing in the API world in terms of open data. So this is all, it's a technological forum where we discuss the trends and typical challenges, opportunities, all that. So I started this last month or so. I hope this session will bring people together and we will expand it in future, I hope. Okay. So my vision is to have a big open API world where we will broadcast to the world. So fine. So that's the kind of thinking behind all things API. So it's all about people like you who are seeing this, who wants to take part in this, who wants to talk in these forums. So it's all about you guys, um, and I will be very happy to hear from you, expressing interest in coming into this forum and talking about APIs and what you do, anything interesting and all that. Okay. So that's a quick introduction. Um, just want to recap on what we did in the first few sessions. So we focused about microservices and microservice APIs, microservice um, architecture. We spoke about SOA. So these were the kind of agenda for last few weeks. So some gentlemen came to this forum last week and discussed about the way things done in his world uh, around microservices. Right. Having said that, this session is all about open banking and the open banking APIs. Right. So I've been working on a open banking project for one of my client, and this really interests me. So I thought I can share my thoughts around this, create some awareness about this open banking and the kind of APIs we are dealing with, things like that. Okay. So possibly next few sessions also we will go in deep with the open banking. I'm very sure that this session won't be enough for us to talk about open banking itself. Okay. Then next sessions we will dig deeper into the open banking APIs. Then we will talk about how banks could or implementing these open banking APIs or could implement it in a better way. So that's the kind of thought process for the next few sessions. Um, right, okay. So let me talk about open banking first to start with. So I would like to share some material which I created. So I wanted to share a screen. So just give me a minute. Planning to do some screen share. Right. Hopefully it should work now. Mm, I think you should be able to see the screen now. Right. So this is about open banking and right. So this is my quick statement. Open banking will change the way we do banking. So that's my view around open banking. It is quite revolutionary. Whoever thought about this, bless them. This is fantastic, and this gives a level playing field for in the banking industry. So with technological advancements around blockchain, bitcoins, and all that comes, so the banking industry is going through a disruptor kind of time frame now. So this is going to be very interesting time. I'm very happy that I am in the IT world at this crucial point of time where this whole thing is going to revolutionize the industry and the way people live, the way people do banking, the way people transact, uh, businesses, small scale industries. So it's going to be great. Next few years going to be very interesting. I'm very happy to be part of this, and so that's my uh, view on this. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so what is the kind of um, um, what is that I want to share in this presentation. So I want to first introduce you to open banking. Okay, people who are already know open banking, sorry guys, it will be some repeat to you, but people who don't know about open banking, uh, people who don't know this such thing exists, so this will give them an opportunity to know about it, uh, what it is, why it matters. So I want to spend most of today's session on what and why part of it. Then open banking APIs is the how part of it. So that possibly we will very briefly cover, and we will have a deep dive sessions in the next few all things API sessions, if that's okay with you. Yeah. Right, okay, open banking introduction. So let me, just give me a minute. Let's go to the Google and go to see somebody has joined. Okay, no, nobody, that's fine. So come back here. So that's my presentation goals, okay? So I like to see, what actually we are trying to achieve in this session, key agenda items, and basically what it means to you, because you are key for this sessions basically. Okay, so some of the, let me start with some key statements, and I like to go deeper into these statements basically. The key statements are: banking is ring fenced, banking is governed, um, data is held within, so the data is within the bank, it's not outside the bank, it's held within, and there is no encouragement, there's no motivation to share the data. Okay, so that is another key statement I would make. Then it is a kind of monopoly. I don't call it a monopoly because there's much more than one banks, but um, like a big banks have better say over the small banks, and the new online kind of banks, new app banks, new mobile banking, new internet only banking. So those banks, challenger banks, they call it themselves. Now they have a better, in terms of, they don't have that much um, deep pocket and the kind of market share. So the big banks, I don't want to call any bank here. So the big banks are, holding the banking industry. Okay, so there's open. So these are my key statements, right? So but the banking is ring fenced. So ring fenced. What I mean is tightly governed. A lot of regulations. So you and it's good. I'm not saying, I'm not against regulations, but too many regulations, and actually it is ring fence in the way that it's the data is within the data center, within the firewall. So no easy access to the data, and why should you get the easy access to the data? Because it's not like, if I am the account holder of a bank, right? I should be able to easily access the data through whatever means I can. Um, for example, I want to access my data from an Excel sheet, right? So it prevents me currently. So I can only access the data from either a paper statements I get from the bank as an account statement. I get access to the data through the mobile applications of the bank, um, and I do access to the data through the internet banking, or I do access to the data through telephone banking, or I do access to the data through visiting a branch, talking to your advisor. So these are the kind of, you are restricting me to access my own data. Okay, I know that you are having the data, you are having my data for your, and I pay you the banking charges to keep my data with you, right? And to seek your services, but you are putting ifs and buts for me to access my own data. So that's not acceptable, right? So, and I have to rely on you to provide the means to provide to give the data access. So I need you to get me the mobile app so that I can go and access my data from anywhere else. Again, the customer experience of the mobile app is not so great. So you are putting restrictions on downloading the data in whatever format I wanted to do. You are not giving me any aggregation of data. You are not giving me any categorization of the data, whichever way I want to do. So you produce the data in whatever forms, I only consume it. So I'm restricted. So it's like my hands are tied. Yeah. Okay, another thing is, if I have to go and go to some other challenger bank and see whether they can offer me better rates, better products. So the challenge there is, um, if they ask me to get the current bank statements and all that, see, it's painful for me to go to a branch, get the bank statements, and it needs to be validated, or I should go to a bank, download the bank statements, send the PDF to whoever it is, and they have to manually uh, process it. It's going to take time, and the decisions around my new offerings are getting delayed because of this. So these are my key statements. Okay, so and the if I do a banking with a big high street bank, and they you give me a product like a savings product or a current account product or a credit card. So then what happens is, if I need to go, I need to know all the details about the product, all right? And then there are a lot of fine prints, yeah. And to be fair, nobody reads those fine prints. So I don't know the terms and conditions to the detail level, yeah. I'm not blaming you. I should actually do know that for better. But what I'm trying to say is, nobody is doing it. I'm very practical and pragmatic here. So if I have to change my banking services, you put some restrictions on it, stating you can't do this, you can't do that. You're fine, repay early repayment fees. So all this hidden cost and surprise cost, puts, don't allow me to go out and seek much more than what I am eligible with you. Okay, so these are my key statements. So let's move on. um, okay, so I've just brought some scenario based uh, situations. Okay, so just give me a minute, let me go and see whether join. No, okay, fine. Right, guys. So let's discuss a few scenarios. Okay, Mr. X wants a new car. So what do you do in terms of this workflow? How it works? So either you visit a car showroom, right? Like a BMW, Mercedes, or Audi, and all that showrooms. You go there, shop around, or go to some internet-based car sellers. Then you actually look what you wanted, the kind of mileage, the kind of make, the kind of model, the kind of color, the kind of comfort. So all those aspects, the running cost, fuel efficiency, blah blah blah. And you say that, okay, you know what, I like this car, I want to buy this. Now that comes it. So if you have cash in hand, just give it and go get the car and move on. But not everyone got that many cash. So we have to go for some lending options. We need to go get some vehicle loans. So how the current things work? So you go sit with a guy, so who provides you that financial advice for this car, or you go to some money comparison websites, and then check whether you need a car loan. It asks you lots of questions, right? Who are you, where are you based at, what you do, right? And then with some kind of what's your contact details, what's your address history, what's your ID proof. So all those ID related checks is done. Then what do they do is they say, you know what, I'm going to do some credit checks for you. So what is this credit check? Credit check is, have you defaulted in any of your previous payments or not? For example, you have your mobile contract, you have your mortgage contract, you have your personal loans, you have your credit cards. Have you missed any of those payments? Right? So if you miss any of the payment, you become delinquent. You become a non-performing asset. So they mark you, stating, you know what, Mr. X has missed the payment. It is a kind of a black mark in your uh, financial report card. Okay, so that's what the credit history is all about. Now, what happens is when you actually miss a payment, you get what is called as a credit score. So if your score will be much lesser, right? Or they rate you as A plus, A, B, B plus, C, C, D, whatever it is. So based on your credit history, they actually either give you the loan or reject the loan. Okay, so this is what actually happens. Now, what I'm trying to say is, if they don't give you any personalization of the loans, right? For example, I have got so I have there is no visibility of that person's in terms of the amount you can afford to pay. It all depends on individuals telling, what, I can afford to pay 500 pounds a day. So somebody sometime many times it is true that you tell what you can afford to pay 100%, but sometimes the people might have to might can, say, they might say something not correct. They might say something because they are so interested in the car. They might say that I can pay £1,000 a month, but they can only afford £750 a month, right? So this does not give the organization who's providing the loan the all the details they need to know, um, to give a best quote for the loan. Okay, so you really depend on the individual to tell you the information rather than we actually getting it in a connected system. So let's look at the scenario two. Okay, right. So now the Mr. X wants to control how he spends his money, right? In terms of, what do I mean by control how he spends money is, okay, how my money is get spent, how much I spending for my groceries, how much I spend for my mortgages, how much I spend for my child's education, how much I spend for my car, petrol, right? If you ask me personally, I don't know. It's because um, I don't keep track of each and every category on how much I'm spending, right? So how much I'm eating out. So I have a monthly budget of spending, but I don't have that subcategory. So am I actually spending more on Amazon? Am I actually spending more on eBay? Right? So the spending patterns are not known. So now, if I have to get it, so what I need to do is, if I have one or more credit cards, one or more current accounts, then I need to get all the transactions, all the statements of all these accounts. One can be in a paper mode, one can be in a online internet banking method, one can be in an Excel sheet I can export in a comma separated CSV file. So just give me a minute, please. All right. So the information is scattered. It's not in a single place. So that is really a painful area. So I need to spend at least an hour or so to consolidate all that information in an Excel sheet or wherever it is, to get some meaningful insights about my own way of spending my money, right? It's painful area. It's not a great customer experience. So some of the banks might give you that feature. So that tells you, okay, from my current account, how much I actually send it to pay to Tesco, to Sainsbury's, to Asda, to petrol. It could be Shell. How much I spend it to Shell? How much I spend it in Amazon? How much based on that, the word search, they might able to get me. But the problem is they have only visibility of that current account, right? So I might, they might not have, they don't know how much I'm spending in credit card because they don't have that data in their system, right? That's the challenge I'm trying to say. Moving on, scenario 3. Just give me a minute. Somebody trying to reach out to me. See anything urgent? Right. Okay. So moving on, scenario 3. Let's say a new challenger bank have come into the market. So they want to provide some best product um, to all the consumers, all the customers who have their current account balance, average daily balance is £3,000. If you have that money, that kind of money, you know what? I have a best product for you. That best product can be more interest. The best product can be 0% loan, a short-term loan, 0%, or the best product can be 0% overdraft for the amount of the £3,000. It can be anything, right? Which might be interest you. So if I need to avail that facility, so what I need to do is they give me a kind of method where I can check whether I am eligible for that product or not. So that I can go to their app, provide all my details, and how do they know that I have maintained that balance or not? Either they have to go by my word, which usually they don't because this is a kind of introductory product. So they need to know the actual statements to prove that I am eligible for that. And the only way they can do is I upload it currently. I think the only way of do is I upload them all the all the statements. So somebody at their end or some software which reads the PDF, whatever it is, it does some kind of checks and then let me know whether I'm eligible or not. Yeah. Otherwise, think about this. You give them the access of all current accounts you're having, right? And they know that what current accounts you're having by credit history. The credit history companies know what are all bank accounts you have got. They have the information, right? Now think about this. The credit history company knows all the accounts I have. So there is no way that I can hide that availability of that account from anybody because credit history company has got it. So this app can talk to credit history company, will automatically populate all the accounts details I have and seek permission from me to go and contact that particular account or that bank which gives me that current account and get all the details needed for checking the eligibility of this product and then make a decision just like that, right? On a snap of a finger, decision is made. Look at this, right? How much time is saved. Look at the customer experience it provides, right? I don't need to do anything. I just need to give access to my current accounts, and I can't hide any current accounts from them because they already know those information. On 3 clicks, I give them the access just for the purpose of reading my statements last 3 months. So and just for the purpose of knowing my balance, right? They are not interested in the particulars of my transactions. They are interested only in the balance, right? So I'm not giving them any more than what I intend to give. If you think about the situation where if you give them a paper statement to somebody, what it means is all the particulars of the transactions, right? Who I paid, what for I paid, to the possible extent will be visible in the bank sheet, which some might be okay to share, some might not be okay to share, right? It's personal information. So I don't want you to know the particulars of the transaction, but you are interested in only knowing balances. I will give you that details alone. Think about in the paper statement where all the particulars are there. I just black it out, all the particulars of transaction, give it to these guys. That's exactly I want to give them, but online. And they get what they need, and they know it's true because it's all system to system talking. Nobody internally changing any, massaging any data. On a snap of a finger, that challenger bank knows that I'm eligible or not. Simple, isn't it? Is it possible in nowadays, in current world? I doubt it. Right. So these are some scenarios I think I wanted to express the kind of challenges we are facing in the current way of banking. Now let's talk about how it all evolved. Okay, so there's something called CMA, Competition and Market Authority. Okay, just give me a minute. Right. So Competition and Market Authority. Okay. So it's a body. It's a consumer forum. Um, it's a body. It's a government organization. The main purpose is promote business competition, prevent monopoly, right? Give the best to the consumers. So this is the main agenda, the kind of missions I would say. Okay, their mission is the whole sole purpose of their existence is to make sure the consumers gets the best out of the market. Simple, one single line. Now they realized that the scenarios I told them, the scenarios I explained, it's a kind of a problem statement in the current way of doing things in banking industry. They want to, they're always thinking about how to improve, how to improve the market, how to improve the competition, how to improve the consumers' experience, customers' experience. They always think about that. And they said, okay, you know what? They instructed the top 9 high street banks, and they call it as CMA9. Okay, you can Google it and know who all those top 9 banks are. Okay, they're all high street banks. They're not um, they're not kind of local banks. They are very big banks, and they told them, you know what? If you want to do the business in UK, we need to do things differently now. And what you have to do is you you form a group, think about how to best improve the consumer's experience. Uh, you know, do something which actually improves the market competition. So one thought was you provide all your details, in an open format, give it to the world. So that's what they said. So CMA9, what they did was they formed an organization, because you know what, the CMA9, each of the banks have the business to run. Yeah, they don't have time for all this consumer stuffs and all that. So they wanted to uh, they wanted a dedicated team to focus on this. So they said, okay, you know what? We form an organization called OBIE. It's Open Banking Implementation Entity. It's an organization. It's, people working in that organization, paid by the CMA 9, right? So their job is to come up with open banking standards and implementation methods so that all the banks in the UK, and mainly the CMA 9, follow those standards and give the data as suggested or mandated by this OBIE itself. You understand, right? So that's how the open banking formed. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the key glossaries, because in our sessions you will be coming across certain terms. So I would request you to be familiar with those terms. Okay, so CMA 9, as it was, 9 big banks commissioned by CMA Group to implement the open banking standards. Then OBIE is the Open Banking Implementation Entity. It's a delivery organization appointed by CMA 9 to go and do the work with related to open banking. And key stakeholders in this whole open banking are users, you and me, right? People like you and me are the key people in this whole open banking. Because though the banks have got the data of ours, but we are the actual owners of those data. The bank is just like a safe where you have kept your items. So the actual valuables are yours, but the safe is provided by the bank, right? Similarly, the data is yours, data is mine, but I have given the permission for the bank to hold my data and do business with me. Okay, so that's how I can explain you in a simple way. So they own the safe, they own the infrastructure. The banks own the infrastructure. The banks own the safe. So users are like you and me. Banks are the people who have access to, who have the safe, yeah. And the third party providers. Third party providers is I appoint someone on my own behalf to do something with the data I have in my safe. So I give a concerned letter to this person, third party. Mr. Third party, go to the bank. Yeah. Take my consent letter, go to the bank, give them the consent letter. In the consent letter, I have written that I, as Mr. X, I have a safe with you. I have got some details in the safe with you. Safe number is XYZ, right? And I now appoint this third person, Mr. Z, where you can identify Mr. Z by look and feel, ID proof, whatever it is. Now this third person is going to access the safe you have on behalf of me. So open up the safe for him so that he can go and see what it inside. Okay. In the safe, I might have every many, but this guy can only see only particular item in that safe, and he can only take a copy of that item from the safe, and he can only access the safe for 10 minutes. After that, safe, close the safe, don't allow him again. I'm allowing him just today. something like that. Okay, so this third party, by accessing the safe, might do some good. You can read the information in the safe, and and you might say, what you are having in this safe, insert, if you go, this is this information you're having in the safe, what, if you go to another safe, it'll give you better deals for you. So you might see something like that and give me them some advice. So I think I've oversimplified the whole open banking funda using a safe example, yeah, but that's all it is. And the consent is the consent letter I give this third party, right? So the consent letter I give to the bank to allow this third party to access my safe. So that's the consent. Consents are important, right? So the banks cannot decide on their own. They need your consent. Why do they need our consent? If anything goes wrong, then what happens? The banks come say it is you who have given the consent, right? You would have thought about it before giving the consent. So that's the challenge. That's the thing interesting. Now, how do I know this third party is a good third party or a bad third party? That's an interesting question, and it's an interesting problem. You need to. Do you remember the Facebook problem we faced in last months or so, couple of months? So there's some kind of analytics company who who gave some kind, who actually in Facebook they put an personality test app or something. So you give that personality test app the access to get your profile details, your friends details, your likes and dislikes, your interest, all the stuff, your pictures, your data, your images, your videos, and all the stuff. So you gave them the access only for the purpose of taking the personality test. But what did they do with that? They actually took your consent and ran away with all your data, sold it to somebody else for some other purpose rather than the personality test. Now, this is the challenge here. So who governs these third parties? Nobody controls what they do with your data, right? So we say Facebook, you should be more careful. Facebook saying it is you, Mr. X, who have given the data to this, given the consent to this analytics company or this personalitics. So this is a bit of a gray area, right? So we blame Facebook, but how do Facebook know about it? Practically speaking, on what basis Facebook would know that you will, this guy is doing what he want to do, or he can do anything else? So this is a big debate going on. With all, GDPR comes in picture, which is General Data Protection Regulation comes in. So all things getting more and more stricter, complicated, and all that. So now this open banking is exposing the data to a third party, and this is a financial data. Okay, so financial data are always sensitive data. To other matters, all data is sensitive data about you. So how the whole security and who is going to govern these third parties, who approves these third parties? This third parties needs to be approved by FCA. FCA is that, like, financial control authority. So the third party, usually it will be genuine, but what if a black sheep in that, who pretends that he is good but doesn't? What happens in that case? So that's something we will debate more in future sessions. Right. Okay. So let's quickly go through a open banking flow. I think I explained it in a very simple way of a safe example, right? So let me reiterate that example based on this slide here. Okay. So Mr. X goes to the third party provider, Mr. Z, and you'll say, Mr. Z, I need your help, please. Yeah. So Mr. Z gives you some account information. So they get your account details and do something with that and give you some meaningful service out of it. What it is, that's exactly the business of the TPP to do with. They might give you aggregation of all your spending. They might say that, you know what, you are spending um, 50 pounds for your mobile phones, right? So have you thought about somebody else who can give you the same service for 45 pounds? You will definitely take it, isn't it? Similarly, you'll say, hey, you know what, from your account information, I found that you are spending around 1,500 for your utility bills. Have you thought about switching to somebody else who can give you the same amount of energy for 1,000 pounds? You're saving 500 pounds. Possible? Yeah. That another third party might say, you know what, I saw your information. There is a kind of 1,000 pounds every month sitting idle in a current account where this guy not giving you any interest. So why don't you change this current account to somebody else who give you 10 pounds for your 1,000 pounds? You get 10 pounds extra. Will you change it? Yes or no? I will change it. So these third-party providers are the guys like this who reads your details and give you some service out of the details. So we call them as AISP, Account Information Service Provider. They get your account details. Account details can be statements, transactions, what kind of product you own with the bank, things like that, and give you some suggestions out of it. Another third party is say PISP. You know what PISP, Mr. PISP? PISP is a payment guy. I go to Mr. third party, Mr. Mr. Z. I want to transfer my money to some other international transfers. It's hassle for me to go to a bank, fill a big form and all that. Can you do it for me? And he will say, yes, I will do it for you with a minimal service fee of £1. I say, yes, go ahead. And he will do it. So this is a kind of third parties, right? So I go to them, seek their service. And for them to do this service, they need access to your details, which you kept in a safe. Here, in this way, they need access to the details which you kept in your bank. So they go to the bank and say, Mr. Bank, Mr. X has came to me asking for my service, and for me to do my service, I need the details of Mr. X, which you kept in your safe. And Mr. X has given me permission to read his account details, and Mr. X has given his permission to read these details for the last 1 month. Can you please give it? Bank acknowledge it. Okay, Mr. X, Mr. Z. Okay, I can understand you came here for your data requested by my customer, Mr. X. But you know what? I need to call up this guy and say whether you are the genuine guy. So they call, the banks call the user, which is Mr. X, and say, hey, Mr. X, you know what? Mr. Z has come in seeking all the details which you wanted. Are you happy for me to give it? So now the customer, Mr. X, expecting that from the bank, he knows that he's the one who's told Mr. Z to go and talk to the bank. So they give consent, yes. And once the bank got consent, they have no restrictions. They give the data, and with the data, TPP does what they promised the customer to do. This is the complete flow of open banking. Yeah. Okay, the open banking API. So where is this API is coming in fit? So this session is all about all things API, right? So just give me a minute. So APIs. So APIs, as you all know, is application programmable interface. It's a small routines which is used to do certain things, basically. So now the APIs play a very, very crucial role in the whole flow we spoke. Okay. Now, so why this open banking APIs are important? Let me give you an example. Now, let's take a safe example itself. So I go to the Mr. X goes to Mr. Z seeking the service, and Mr. Z go to the bank seeking the data. Mr. Bank comes to Mr. Z X seeking the consent. That's the whole flow we spoke. Yeah. So how this done? How this done? So now the third party here, Mr. Z, going to the bank seeking the data. In what way they go? Okay. Now the bank here, today is bank 1, tomorrow it can be bank 2, day after tomorrow bank 3, after this bank 4. But it's all banks providing the same account informations. It shouldn't be more different between bank 1 to bank 2 in the way they store the data, in terms of the nature of data. Let's talk about it. I, as a customer, have an account with the bank. All right. So, what are the information you expect the bank to store about you? Very simple. My name, my date of birth, my mobile number, my contact details, my address history, my marketing preferences with them, what kind of account I am having with them, savings account, current account, and what is the kind of interest they are going to provide for that account, and what is the kind of transactions I'm having with them. Yeah, you understand, right? What kind of communication I'm having with them, what kind of letters they sent me, what kind of letters I send them, the kind of old communication history between me and the bank, the old transaction history between me and the bank, the old history of both me between me and the bank. Right, so this is all it is, very simple. Yeah. So if the third party goes to Mr. Bank 1 and say I need this data, right, and the bank comes to me asking consent, and they give the data. Now if they give the data in a format which is a different than bank 2, which is different than bank 3, which is different than bank 4, okay, then look at the workload for the third party. They need to understand the format of bank 1, they need to understand the format of bank 2, they need to understand the format of bank 3, they need to understand the format of bank 4. Too costly and ineffective. So this open banking group said to all the banks, you know what, you might be storing in your safe however you want, we don't bother. But when you give the access to the safe to the third party, I want all of you to give the access in the same way. Right? That's all. The same way is what is this open banking APIs does. Standardized specification, standardized way for all the banks, irrespective of however they store the data, whether they store the data in premises, whether they store data in the cloud, whether they store data in the hybrid, whether they use Oracle, whether they use SAP, whether they use So Microsoft, they don't care whether they use SQL Server, whether they use Oracle database, whether they use MySQL, whether they use MongoDB, NoSQL DB, they don't care. All they need is you give the information in a standard way. That's all. And who decides the standard way? The open banking implementation entity. They defines the standard way. And the standard way is the APIs and the formats of the data are defined by the group. That's all. That's all it is. So the JSON format, as you know, is a JavaScript object notation. So it's your one. It's your digital. It's the latest way of denoting or sharing the information. So that's what it is. And OAuth security is the way you secure your APIs, your data. Okay, so we will discuss more on that. Just give me a minute. Okay, so we are almost running out of time now. Just a last minute, and my low battery is also coming up. Right, so the open banking APIs, we just look into AISP, we just give you the brief about it, and next sessions we'll go deeper. Yeah, so AISP services, as I told you, what information they can provide about your accounts, all the account details, what are the account numbers, what kind of account it is, when you started the account, things like that. All the transactions I'm having with the bank, all the balances I'm having with the bank, all the direct debits happening from the current account, to who the direct debits are happening, all the beneficiaries I have, all the standing errors I am having. These are all very, very basic services, APIs that's there. And the third party can go and talk to the bank and get the information about accounts, transactions, balances, direct debits, beneficiaries, standing orders, and much more. And you as a user will give access, consent to the bank to give the data about these to the third party. Okay, so that's it. I think we're running out of time now. I want to again thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. In the next sessions, we'll go deeper into AISP, and further sessions we'll go deeper into payment services and security, and how the whole thing gets going to be implemented, and what's the future like. Okay, thank you again. So let me close the screen sharing. Right. I hope you would have enjoyed this session. Whoever seeing this, catching it up. I hope you'll enjoy it, and I will see you next soon. Bye.